everybody, and welcome to 500 Open Tabs. I'm your host, Kaveh Taherian.
And I'm Hannah Hillam.
You are also a host.
I'm also a host.
Yes, you're not just a rando.
I'm a guest every time. Today we'll be having a guest.
Yes.
And my guest,
thankfully, I'm a very good host. Yeah, my guest, Hannah Hillam. She's guest hosting. Thank you for turning back into our second episode. We're surprised that you made it through the first one, and we're grateful that you're back again.
Welcome.
So we've been discussing what are we supposed to do? How do we start our episodes now? Because in the first episode we did our, how we met
our intros,
story.
yeah.
Our meet cute, I guess, is the term that they have. But now we're like, we don't really like when people do.
No. How's it going? How's your week?
Hey, you know what?
Mine was
I went on a walk.
fraught.
Oh, interesting.
You went on a walk?
No, it's not interesting. Yeah. I go on walks every day.
I know.
You know this because we share Apple Watch information, so that every time I go on a walk, you text it back to me that you're making fun of me, I think is what it is.
I send him back one of those like those passive aggressive canned answers.
Yeah.
It's like, you're good. Go you go.
Which I didn't even know it sends messages because I don't have that set up on mine. So
you better get going.
Yeah. I didn't try to be obnoxious and put it in your face that I'm super healthy, but can't help it that Apple's doing it on my behalf.
They're a little bit manipulative like that.
Oh yeah, big time. The whole thing's like playing a video game.
The watch will be like, you haven't stood in an hour. I'm like,
yeah.
Cool, thanks.
Hey. Yeah, exactly.
You're a jerk.
Anyway, emotionally fraught, starting off the new year correct.
Yeah.
We're excited to get back into it. Did you end up looking up? I know at the end of the last episode you said you were going to go read a bunch about cheese, but did you just end up eating a bunch of cheese?
I ate a ton of cheese, yeah.
I did too. Cheese is delicious.
Christmas with like my family, it's just cheese.
Yeah.
It's just cheese. Every holiday is an excuse for white people to eat cheese.
I love it. I mean, that's a great thing to have as part of your culture in general.
It's literally all we have. Besides the oppression. Anyway, but yeah, I ate some cheese. I did a little bit read about Al Capone because I was like, what else has this guy done? And I had no idea. Okay, here's a weird thing I learned about him. He was one of the very first people to receive, what's it called? The vaccine. The very first. Penicillin.
Penicillin.
It's not a vaccine.
He was one of the very first people to get it?
Yes. Yeah, because he got some crazy brain. I wish I remembered anything.
He got some crazy brain.
Yeah.
They're like, here's this brain.
Yeah. No, he got this something with his brain. He had a stroke or something. Don't believe me on this. He just got sick. And he somehow, through his connections, was one of the very first people to receive penicillin.
Is this before, while he was in jail or before he was in jail?
Oh, after, as he was slowly dying. And it prolonged his life enough for him to sit in a chair and have the mind of a 12-year-old for the next 10 years.
Yes. He sounds like a perfect podcast host at that point.
Oh, you're right. Anyway, Did you end up reading about anything like digging? Did you like digging?
No, to be totally honest, I completely forgot about it as soon as this is. So I've been podcasting for a few years now, so I've learned that I remember everything while we record, and as soon as we hit cut, I just immediately forget everything.
Well, just like school.
You're gonna be like, yeah, exactly. It's like you cram for a test, and then you give the test, and you forgot.
Yep.
No, I actually had forgotten that we'd even recorded an episode before this, but thankfully, getting prep for this one made me actually have to remember. Yeah.
You and Al Capone, just brain rot.
Exactly. I got too much penicillin in my body. That's why we're here. Or not enough, apparently.
No, you don't have enough.
Yeah.
Listen, after this episode, I'm going to make sure you're pumped with full of penicillin. All right? You'll be good to go.
Yes.
Anyway.
Excellent. Anyway, so yeah, why don't we get into it? You want to, last time I went first.
Yeah,
and,
I'll go first this time.
Wonderful. I'm excited. What do you got for us?
I chose a tab that I've had open for a long time because it was really far back in my scroll, In
the archives?
In the archive. It was like tab 100 and something, I'm guessing. But it is a tab on Wikipedia called Phossy Jaw. And
Phossy Jaw.
Phossy Jaw.
Like Bob Fosse.
Yep.
It's just
Bob
when you
Fosse's jaw. It's just his jaw. It's
got an entire Wikipedia entry. I don't even have one.
It's disgusting.
Bob Fosse's jaw? What's wrong with it?
It's just the jaw.
Oh.
Detached from his... Nothing's wrong with it. We all have one.
Yeah, it's true. What the hell is Phossy? This is F-O-S-S-Y, Phossy Jaw? Or...
Phossy Jaw. That's what F-O... Nope. P-H-O-S-S-Y.
Oh, P-H.
And it's short.
I should let you talk instead of just jumping in and asking questions.
I know you've been podcasting for a long time, but it's my turn. Okay. All right. Phossy Jaw is short for phosphorus necrosis of the jaw, which is a disease that people would get who worked around white phosphorus. So if you had enough exposure to it, your jaw would start to rot away. This is disgusting.
What?
This is
Why
disgusting,
does it go specifically just to your jaw?
It kind of goes to your... I'll get there. So
Okay.
I found myself then clicking on the tab for white phosphorus, and I got overwhelmed because there's a bunch of long science words that I don't know what any of them mean. But I did manage to learn. I managed to learn that it's extremely flammable and extremely toxic, and it ignites. It's like this gooey. It's like kind of waxy, like white stuff, and it right when it's exposed to oxygen, it ignites immediately. Which, of course, as with every human invention, we use it to kill people. The army started using it. And if you've been paying attention to the news lately, you probably have heard how devastating it is on civilians. And it is, make a note of this, against international law to use on...
so it's a human rights violation?
It's a human rights abuse and violation. They can use it not in cities, and it makes this smoke that like armies can use to mask their movements. So it's kind of dicey. It's like, yeah, you can use it to mask your movements, but like people.
Not as like a weapon, but like as sort of like the old like ninja movies where they drop the bomb and then the smoke bomb would show up and then they would just be like whoosh, and then like escape.
Way deadlier. Yeah. So it's a pretty gruesome. It's really it does a number on your body and it's horrible. Anyway, gonna go a different direction to a different sad topic. So, another use for this is for matches, like matchsticks. So,
okay.
Back in the day, they were like, "Oh, dude, we can make this so much easier than the old like whatever they did," because remember, it ignites when it hits oxygen. So,
yeah.
Once someone figured out a marketable use for that, of course, they started exploiting it. It was the 1850s, 80s.
Great time for human rights.
So good, children.
Great period of progress. Making money, industrialization. It's just
human rights.
Yeah. Excellent.
So matchstick factories. So I'm just going to talk about friction matches because matches have been going on for ancient China, of course. Everything goes back to that. So these matchstick factories started popping up the 1800s and early 1900s, and since many young women in rural areas are like, oh, I can actually go work now because there's these jobs. A lot of them would move to the city to work in factories. Which don't.
Never a good sign. Yeah.
Yeah. My advice to you is don't work in an 19th century factory.
Crap. I have a job interview later.
I know.
Should I cancel it?
Yeah. Call back back in time. So imagine that you're a young English girl, all right? Just so ready
Already
for her
Love it. Yeah.
her first day on the job at the matchstick factory. You go in and they're like, here's how you do it. You attach all these matches to these like sticks, just pine. Is it pine? You know what? Don't quote me on that. I have no idea.
Okay. Some sort of a stick. Doesn't really matter specifically.
I'm just going to keep going like this.
Just this, yeah.
They would like attach them to these like holders. And you just take the holders and you dip them in phosphorus, and in a 10-hour shift, one person could make 10 million matches.
10 million?
Yes.
Dear Lord. So these are they're basically like the Pockies, like those pretzel sticks that are dipped in chocolate, but with phosphorus, and you don't eat them.
Well, actually.
Oh no!
Oh,
don't
just
do
wait.
it, 1800s English woman who went to work in the factory.
No, it's not her.
Okay.
So yeah, they'd dip these in sulfur and they'd make so many. And one of the very first brand names for these were lucifers, because
Lucifers.
English people were like, this smell reminds me of hell. Literally what they said. So anyway, you're this young English girl. Do you want to like give yourself a name?
My name is now I'm just drawing a blank of English woman's name. Gertrude.
Gertrude.
Is that an English sounding name? Gertie? How about Gertie?
Gertie the matchstick girl? All right. So here we are. Gertie the matchstick girl is wasting away in this factory 10 hours a day, smashed up against everybody. But she's making a little bit of money.
Okay.
And she's crammed in there with a bunch of other 14, 15-year-old Victorian girls and breathing in.
Oh, they're of course they're that young.
They're young, point, yeah. Right? Yeah. But you're a freshly exploited child worker. You're so excited to like talk to all these people and, gossip. I'm sure.
But it's also like you get to be a grown up kind of, which is fun. I think when you're a kid, you're being treated like an adult, which ironically is what all kids want.
Especially when you're a woman in the 1800s, you're like, I finally have a little bit of independence. So you are breathing in, but the whole time it's 10-hour shifts. You're breathing in white phosphorus vapor, and it's just a little bit. But after a while of doing this for 10 straight hours, you start to notice it's getting harder to eat whatever British food they ate. Well, like
right. I was gonna say
like a slurry.
I was like, that's an obvious joke right there. I'm like, I feel that way when I'm having English food as it is, phosphorus or not.
Listen, it's sometimes kind of good.
It is.
But yeah, whatever like slurry of factory food. I don't know. They probably like blood sausage or something.
Yeah. Bangers and mash. That sounds fancy for like factory food. Probably
they didn't eat that. I'm sure they ate like gruel. I don't know. I'll ask.
Yeah, it's cruel.
So you'd start feeling like your teeth hurt, Gertie, and you're like, oh, what the? And then you start feeling nauseous like all the time. And then you get up one morning and notice that your gums are swollen. And the pain is so bad that it's radiating along your jaw. And it starts creating abscesses in your mouth and fistulas. Yeah. And it smells so bad. So
Gertie,
poor girl.
Gertie, go to the dentist.
There's no dentist. So teeth would start to fall out if you let it go long enough. And after a few months, the bones in your jaw would start to die. And within it's like rotting away from the inside. And then within 6 months, necrosis of the jaw has fully set in. And necrosis, I mean, maybe don't go open this tab. It's disgusting.
Yeah, this sounds not fun.
Yeah, I looked at a lot of things last night.
Hannah looks at weird shit so that you don't have to.
No, I do it because I have no self-control. But it's when the flesh starts to die and bone starts to die. So your jaw is pretty much like caving in or rotting off. And here's the thing. The factory foremen and the people who owned the factories knew about this. And so
what?
Yes.
And they did nothing?
They did nothing.
That's so strange.
No, never. How could you ever think they wouldn't do anything? Human rights can't, paragon.
The factory workers are known, especially during this time, for loving their employees, taking care of them, giving them free health care.
Another thing about my culture, we liked to, the English just liked to work people to death. That's not at all how it is anymore.
It's totally changed. Yeah. Thankfully.
Your breath would pretty much just smell like dying bones.
I feel like that's the least of your worries is if your breath is bad.
I just keep picturing the smell.
Trying to have a conversation with your coworker.
Well, like you go outside and the air is pretty much made of like coal dust because of all the.
I guess that's true. Yeah, you're right.
Disgusting. Everyone's, got Phossy Jaw, breathing all over. Anyway. So, you can imagine all this.
All I'm just picturing is them just doing Phossy jazz hands the entire time.
Crying.
Yeah. Oh, my jaw. This is horrible. We're making a joke about it. I'm sorry.
They're all dead. So, they can't. Well, maybe they'll. Anyway.
They'll haunt us.
Anyway, so the pain is terrible, and it gets worse and worse until they're full organ failure. And that is...
Ugh.
Yeah, about 20% of people with Phossy Jaw untreated die. The other ones will have their jaw removed or teeth removed, or just, made so they can.
Yeah.
I mean, go look at photos of the Phossy Jaw survivors.
20% is actually a little bit lower than I thought. I just assumed this would be like everyone's dead.
Same.
Just if you're getting like literal poison in your mouth. And it's interesting that it just goes specifically to the jaw.
Yeah.
Like that's the area that, or I guess it comes in through the mouth and the teeth because you're breathing. It wouldn't like end up like in their lungs, like lighting on fire or something.
Oh, interesting. That's a good question. No, but so remember the factory people knew about this. And
right.
There's this woman, Sarah. Mm-hmm. Oh shoot, I think her name is Sarah. Of course, I didn't write it down. Oh, no. I'm good at this. But she organized. She and a bunch of other women realized that everyone was suffering from these crazy jaw things, and that the factory kind of knew about it. So they organized a huge walkout.
Hell yeah!
Yeah. So 1,400 teenage girls and young women walked out of the factory.
Love it.
And refused to work because
good.
It turns out there was studies already done on phosphorus and how it can harm you. And of course, surprise, they didn't tell them.
Big business.
There was a bunch of triggers. There's more than just that trigger for the strike. It was also terrible working conditions. There just isn't time to go into that. I could talk about this for 5 hours. So anyway, the strike made the papers. Everyone started hearing about this, and it made everybody angry. So like pretty big famous people were like, hey, we got to make sure these people don't, breathe phosphorus anymore. And 20 years later, they banned it.
20 years?
Yes.
What the hell were they doing in the meantime?
Well, it was all over the world. So England banned it 20 years later. So other places started to ban it. Certain factories chose to use red phosphorus instead, which isn't as bad.
Is it any better?
Yeah.
It's not as bad.
No, it doesn't kill you slowly.
It kills you quickly.
It kills you quickly.
It's immediately you die.
Anyway, but it kind of like one of the weird side effects of this is that in the paper, everyone was like, "Oh, this is a new way to commit suicide." So people started eating the heads off of matches.
What the hell?
Whole boxes of matches. They said that one box of matches, just the heads, would kill a man. So, people would eat the heads off matches and die. Which, I'm sorry, just jump off the bridge, Sorry,
you gotta like imagine, like the human imagination is so just, it never stops. Just you find out about one thing, like white phosphorus on matches, and they're like, I'm gonna eat a box of these things. Like our creativity knows no bounds when it comes to sickness.
And
it's insane.
When it comes to dying. I mean,
yeah,
as you can
it's
see,
very morbid. Yeah.
It's disgusting. I mean, I would probably do it too if I had to live in the 1880s. Another fun. Anyway, they called this the London Match Girl Strike of 1888, which I want to say if I ever start like a dumb indie band, I want to call it the London Match Girl Strike or the Match Girl Union. Matchstick Union.
Match Girl Union's a good one too. Matchstick Union. I
Matchstick
like that.
Union. That sounds like a Decemberist song or something.
Yeah.
Early 2000s twee indie stuff. Anyway.
Twee. The word twee. That word always drove me crazy.
Really? You hate it?
It's so twee. No, it just was funny. It was just like things that were twee.
Yeah. Sorry.
Anyway, I'm sorry. Continue.
No, well, that's pretty much kind of it. I talked really fast through that, so I think I'm done. There's more to talk about. Oh, that's one more thing.
Yes.
So if you know anything about serial killers and the 1800s, you'll know that 1888 was also the year that Jack the Ripper killed all those women.
Right. He's ripping through them.
A lot. just like phosphorus, just absolutely eviscerating these women.
In other news, our show gets canceled after the second episode.
They're all dead. No. So that sets the tone. Like, it's a terrible time to be a woman, as is almost every time. So
I was gonna say, as opposed to now, where it's like things are great. They're looking cheeky in the States. We love it.
Oh, the U.S. loves women.
Yeah, especially right now at this moment in time.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, that's
I feel like
Jaw.
every episode we're going to be like, here's this horrific thing that happened in the past. Look at how different it is from now. And it's always going to be like, nope, nothing has changed.
Nothing has changed. Capitalists are still capitalists.
Yeah.
And at least we don't use white phosphorus. Well, sorry, yeah, we do. I forgot we do. Use white phosphorus.
So matches still use phosphorus on them, or they don't anymore?
No, in the 30s or 40s, they stopped using phosphorus and started using a compound of other things that was way less dangerous. Because even red phosphorus would like explode when it touched the air. So.
Whoa.
Anyway.
That's crazy.
Phossy Jaw.
Phossy Jaw.
It's disgusting.
Phossy hands. It's disgusting. It sounds very unfortunate. Our thoughts. And I was going to say thoughts and prayers. Now I sound like a politician. Our condolences to everybody who had to experience that, because that sounds terrible. Do you enjoy supporting Hannah and I as creators? Or are you a horrible drain on society who contributes nothing it only takes? Clearly, you are not the latter. So please head on over to nebula.tv/500opentabs and sign up for Nebula. There you can check out exclusives like a handheld detour, the latest video from Epos Vox. Today, just about everyone has smartphones with which they can take selfies and share with friends. But just 25 years ago, such a concept didn't even exist. With the Game Boy camera, Nintendo gave us the power to take photos and create art on the go. Its history is fascinating, and its impact continues to this day. Speaking of Game Boy, did you guys hear about this kid that supposedly beat Tetris? Like, as if that's something you can even do? Sounds to me more like he broke Tetris, in which case, I actually salute him. I like things being broken because it reminds me of how most of us feel the moment we open our eyes. You can find this video and dozens of other high production originals on Nebula, a video streaming platform built by and for creators. You hear that? There are dozens of them. Dozens! And along with videos and podcasts, you can now learn new skills in Nebula's fully produced classes. Right now, when you head to nebula.tv/500opentabs, you get a whopping 40% off an annual subscription. By signing up, you can also support other creators like Todd in the Shadows, Princess Weeks, and many others. So, real talk. If you're enjoying this podcast and want us to keep making episodes, please go to nebula.tv/500opentabs for 40% off an annual subscription and give this show the chance it deserves to grow.
So, what do you have for me today?
What have I got for you today? All right, so
I hope it's better than Phossy Jaw.
Yes, it's funny. Unfortunately, I'm also in the bit of a morbid space today as well. So this should have been like a Halloween episode of some
2024. Here we go.
So I had this article. I don't remember when this was from, but the article was titled. It's from The Guardian.
Okay.
And it's by Matt Wilson. And it's the title of the article is How Do You Get Rid of a Beached Whale Before It Explodes?
You don't. Don't you want to see it explode?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, I want to. I don't know if it's a good idea to be around there when it happens, but
there was whale. I used to
definitely a hazard.
There was one that beached itself like 10 years ago, I want to say, and I just kept updating the page, be like, it's blown up. Anyway, crazy. Okay, tell me, how do you remove a beached whale from the beach? I don't remember.
Before it explodes.
On the beach.
So.
Okay. This is gonna be so gross. Okay.
Of course. So a little bit of backstory.
Okay.
So I have had this fascination with whales for the past few years.
Oh.
This is the reason why I ended up finding this article somewhat by accident, but specifically, most recently, of course, there's all the stories about, I'm sure you've heard about the orcas in the Strait of Gibraltar that are all attacking the yachts. Have you seen all this stuff?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, which they've become heroes for, us working class folks about attacking yachts and billionaires and trying to sink their boats.
I
which
felt
the jury's sort of out
first,
for exactly why.
If everyone's okay,
for the yachts or for the orcas?
For the
no,
for the yachts. I was like,
even if they sink, it's not like
as long as everyone's
poor
okay. Yacht. Yeah, sink it.
Yes, I don't sink it. Yeah, they attack them. That was sort of like a passing fascination, but at some point, a few years ago, I became obsessed with blue whales.
Oh.
Because this is a bit of a tangent, but it'll come back into like how this plays into the story.
Love it.
But effectively, so you probably know already that like the blue whale is the biggest animal on Earth, right? Mm-hmm. Do you know this fact?
I was going to say, is the blue whale the biggest one? And then I didn't. And you told me. So.
Yeah, the blue whale is the biggest one. I remember seeing something, I don't know how true this was, but I feel like I saw it in textbook when I was a kid that was like the blood vessels of a blue whale are big enough that like a small baby can crawl around in them. Like that's how big they get. Right.
Tunneling. Tunnel in those things.
Literally, yeah, baby. Whale tunneling.
Shovel, go to work.
Yeah.
Sick.
Yeah.
Continue.
Only in the 1850s, yeah. Child labor laws won't allow that to happen anymore. So blue whales are the biggest animals on Earth. What I found out just through passing was not only are they the biggest animal on Earth, they are in fact the biggest animal that has ever lived throughout the history of the Earth.
Wait, for real?
So however many billions of years the Earth's been around, however many like animals have been alive that have gone extinct, dinosaurs, like whatever. The blue whales that live in the ocean right now are the biggest things that have ever lived throughout the history of Earth.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
Which is insane.
That's really
It's cool, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And surprising.
So it's kind of weird. Yeah. You'd think that, I don't know, for some reason that kind of blew my mind. And I became really fixated on that. And I'd like started to like watch all these videos and like read random articles about them, about like how did that happen? Like why are whales so big? And it's really interesting because whales. So do you know anything about how whales became whales?
No. I only know about the country, but not the animal.
Yeah, right. Welsh independent. How the whales became Welsh.
Honestly, yeah. Welsh independence. Let's talk about it. No, just kidding. Go on.
Yes. Whales came out of the ocean. They landed on the country of Wales. They evolved into humans. They decided to call their country. They were oppressed
by the English. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tales old as time.
Anyway, so whales, tales old as time. So whales essentially are from like, I want to say it was something around like between like 30 to 50 million years ago. So seafaring animals, right? The Tiktaalik and all this, they evolve, they have like legs, they come out of the water, they crawl onto the earth, and then they finally become like land mammals. Mm-hmm. The earliest whale, like before whales were whales, they were basically kind of like cats or like giant rat creatures, and they were on Earth. This is real, by the way.
They were outside of the water first?
They were outside of the water first, so and then they're like, it's so stupid.
Whales used to be rats. Okay.
They used to be like cat creatures, and they were on Earth. They were on the land, and they were like, bro, this sucks. I really like fish. I really like sushi. I just want to like jump into the water.
I feel that. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's really bizarre. So literally like whales are like this backward, like reverse evolution where it's like they came on Earth and became mammals. And then they were like, yeah, I'm not down with this. I'm going to go back to the ocean.
That's how
then they evolved into, yeah.
I'm going to walk into the sea. Speaking of dying.
It's a good way to go.
Okay.
So they go back into the water and they basically evolve into, they're not fish, obviously, but whatever. They're like, for all intents and purposes, they're mammals in the water. So they're like fish again. So that's why whales are mammals, right? So they're warm-blooded.
Oh.
So as a result of this, that's why they have blubber. Blubber is a way for them to keep their bodies warm because they're not evolved to be fish again because they're straight up mammals.
I don't know why this is so funny to me.
Because it's ridiculous. You don't think of evolution working that way. You always think of it as being the most efficient way. But this is like, no, I changed my mind. I'm going to re-evolve back into a fish. But I can't do it all the way.
Okay, go on. Okay. This is absurd. It's absurd.
It is. It's insane.
Wait, is that why seals
it
have
gets crazier.
finger bones?
Yes, although I don't think, I think actually, you know what? I don't know exactly what you classify seals as, if they're land mammals or if they're sea mammals. I'm not entirely sure because they're sort of hybrids. They do both.
I don't like them.
But that's why all those animals have blubber and stuff, because they're all the warm-blooded animals are the ones that have blubber. So in the case of whales, you know, they're deep in the ocean and it's cold, so they need a lot of blubber around them. And blubber, of course, like it's fat, but it's packed much more tightly. It's like really, really good at, you know, keeping heat in.
Right.
So whales apparently, like, there's a lot of variations of them, but they don't get big until about like 3 million years ago, during the Pleistocene ice age around that time. So like, you know, the ice age happens, you know, things get cold, the water, whatever currents and all that stuff kind of start shifting around, things move around. The krill and like plankton and stuff start following these different patterns. Now, the what's it called? The baleen, which is, you know, like when you see on whales, it's like it looks like their teeth, but it's really just like hair, essentially.
It's like a broom or whatever.
These things.
I've done this
it's basically like
times.
A giant broom.
I've wiggled my fingers so many times during this podcast.
They dip them into phosphorus, but it's underwater, so it's okay. And then they go on strike.
And now there's a whale.
It's a hot whale girl strike or whatever it was called. Sorry.
Hot whale girl. Okay. The matchstick girl.
Matchstick whale.
The matchstick whale union.
The matchstick whale union. Yes, exactly. Who are in their mouths. They're tired of it.
Yep.
So because they have these baleen that are, you know about baleen. So baleen are very, very efficient. Mm-hmm. So essentially they work as filters. Mm-hmm. At this time, a lot of other whales that are smaller die off, but what ends up becoming the blue whale becomes bigger and bigger because they have this extremely efficient way of eating, like a lot of calories without having to burn a lot of calories. And so they evolve to just have their mouths just become gigantic and open up huge.
Right.
And then they just eat a bunch of stuff. And then the, what is it called? The baleen filters out all the crap.
Right.
And then they're just left with the plankton and they just sort of spit back out. So really, like, they don't have to like chew or like think or like hunt. They're just going around, open up their mouths.
Open their mouth and just
literally,
swim.
that's it. That's it. That's all they're doing. It's like, imagine going into your fridge and just like taking everything and just dumping it into your mouth.
And then getting rid of what I don't need.
Right. It's like, oh, we don't need this milk carton in your body, but it needs the milk. We don't need like the egg shells, but the egg can go, all this stuff. You're just like, I never have to think. I just shove a bunch of stuff into my mouth and the baleen will fix it. It'll figure it out. It's a great life, honestly. It sounds fantastic.
I can't stop laughing at this whale. Okay.
So because of this, whales get insanely big because like they're really efficient at just being able to eat. There's like all this open ocean. They get bigger and bigger. There's no natural predators for them in that sense because they're gigantic. So, you know, and now they grow to like 110 feet long or something insane like that. They're just huge creatures. But anyway, that was just a side note about them getting really big, which I thought was interesting. So what usually happens is obviously whales die naturally out in the deep ocean. And what normally happens is they'll die, then you'll get something called whale fall, at which, you know, first they'll die and they start to decompose, and then sharks will come around and they'll sort of pick at them like other kind of weird scavengery type things. And then it'll sort of let the oxygen out or let everything out, and then it sinks to the bottom of the floor. So there's actually a huge part of, you know, ocean floor ecology of like, you know, critters and scavengers and bottom feeders are part of that ecosystem. They all eat them. Cool. It's great. It's like a huge benefit. It takes years. But, you know, of course, sometimes they get washed up on beaches, unfortunately. A lot of times this happens because they're hunting maybe too close to the shore and then they die and it gets confused. Sometimes they get beached and then they die on the beaches. But usually in the case of what we're talking about is they die and then they just get washed up. Now, the reason this is a problem, aside from just it's sad, number one, because, you know, that's not where they're meant to die. No. But number two, the thing that's really crazy about it is that if... Yeah, exactly.
Sorry. I talked
They just came here looking for work and they can't find it.
Go on. I won't interrupt anymore.
It's a podcast. Yeah. That's how we roll. Please do interrupt.
Oh, okay.
It's fine.
All
right. So obviously when a whale dies and it's washed up on shore, it's all of a sudden the circumstances change. So if it stops breathing, it has no way of getting rid of carbon dioxide in its body, right? So the cells start to break down, their membranes rupture, it starts to break down tissue, bacteria proliferates, the bacteria feeds on the, the carbohydrates, the lipids, and the proteins. I think the term is putrefaction.
Oh, yeah.
And of course, as that's happening, it starts to accumulate gases like CO2, methane, and nitrogen, right? So this is a natural thing that happens when bodies start to decompose.
Right.
Humans and whoever else, when they die, it happens, but it just comes out as like little toots and just sort of comes out the mouth or whatever. Toots! They're tooting.
So dumb. Okay.
Right? But because whales are cats that went back into the water and like are still warm-blooded and have a bunch of blubber and they're gigantic and like weigh so much, if a whale washes up on shore, it suddenly is like, it's this thing that's covered in blubber, which can't like, so these gases can't escape.
Oh.
And then also because it's so heavy and big, it's not meant to be on the beach. It's meant to be floating around in the water. But because it's like, at some weird angle on the beach, like the throat closes up because of the weight of the body of it, or, the anus of it is like covered with like the tail or something. So like it just basically can't get out. So these things, I know you want to laugh at the word anus. That's okay. Let's just take a minute.
I'm fine.
The anal cavity.
I am
is
a
closed
grown
off.
Woman. Continue.
No factory work for you.
No anus. Yeah, keep going. You were talking about anus.
Whale anus.
Yeah.
A whale ani. The anus.
Ani? Okay. I'm a child.
No, we both are. It's fine.
Yeah.
Anyway, so when it gets washed up on shore, basically there's nowhere for any of this to go.
Right.
So it just gets trapped in the body, and it just, as it starts decomposing, it just blows up like a balloon. And sometimes it gets up to like 3 times. It bloats. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Oh. Sometimes up to 3 times its size. Okay. So effectively, a whale is like a ticking time bomb that's on the beach. Okay. And if it's not dealt with appropriately, it can explode, like straight up explode.
Right.
Have you ever seen videos of this before?
Oh, yes. Of course I have.
Yeah.
I've gone down the video.
I'm not talking the rabbit hole. Right. And I'm not talking about people blowing up whales. I'm talking about whales that are naturally exploding.
I've seen a couple of videos. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's insane.
This is not for the faint at heart. This is not for the faint at heart. If you can sort of like, if you don't like, gross stuff, I wouldn't recommend it, but viscera, but it is, somewhat objectively just like one of the most insane things that you'll ever see.
Wow.
Because it works like a New Year's Eve, like popper, where they're just like, yay, and then all the streams come out, but it's literally just all the guts of these things will just explode and go everywhere.
Like would it rain?
Wild.
Like if you were close enough, could it rain on you?
Yes. I mean, depending on if you're like in the trajectory of it.
Wow.
So there's a couple of ways that you have to deal with it. So when it comes up, so basically, like even if you see like a beached whale that's dead, if it's not dealt with, it's actually like really dangerous because it can just explode and just So it's like a threat. It's like a safety hazard.
Wow.
As much as it's tragic because you're seeing a dead animal, it's also something that could hurt you and hurt people around you.
Blow you up. Yeah.
Literally blow you up. Yeah. So there's essentially 4 options of how one can deal with this. And it goes from, so I'll just go through. There's a lot of like little mini things that you can do, obviously, but these are the sort of 4 main categories that it falls into. Being that this is America, the first option I'm going to go with is you blow it up.
Yeah. That's
you Michael Bay it.
You get everyone off the beach and you do what you're good at, blowing
Explode things up. You pop some dynamite in there and just go pop, and you sort of blow it up before it blows up itself.
I keep picturing it as like one of those Looney Tunes, like where they have the like string and like the
it is
the gunpowder and then you light it
like, with like the boom,
like the little
with TNT.
Yeah. Yep. Except it would be guts everywhere.
It's which is, you can see this. So there's a very famous, I'm sure you've seen this. This is like one of the like original viral videos. That happened on November 9th, 1970 in Florence, Oregon on the South Coast. An 8-ton sperm whale washed up on shore.
8 tons.
And the local government didn't know what to do with it. They were like cool, we're supposed to, I guess we got to get rid of it. So their decision was that they wanted to blow it up. But of course, very famously, they decided to blow it up with a half ton of dynamite, which is 20 cases roughly.
That's insane.
It's a lot. It's a lot. I know, for people who have been on the internet for a long time, who are extremely online, this is not anything new. But for those of us, or those of you who are sort of maybe not online as much, this is kind of like a hilarious, insane thing to watch, because
kind of gotta watch it.
There's a news crew that shows up and they're like, hey, what's going on? And they're like, we got this whale on the beach. So they're there before they actually blow it up. It's like a proper news story.
Wow.
And of course, there's like the demolitions expert who's just kind of like, yeah,
we used to be a proper
we don't know.
country.
We're going to use like 20 sticks. Yeah. It's very 70s. It's the funny part of it.
Oh, yeah.
And they're just like, yeah, we got to put in 20 cases of dynamite. Maybe it'll work. We're not sure. We might have to go in and blow it up with like the half pieces again multiple times.
Is this the same guy that owned the pizza place from last episode? Sounding like
Sadly
it.
Sadly not.
Oh, different guy.
It's true. Oh, no. That's just my generic voice of just
I like
anybody
it.
being like, yeah,
Mafia. Okay, go
Mafia
on.
Voice. Mm-hmm. Demolitions expert. So basically in this video, they blow it up. There's all these spectators that are around there because people are like, oh, you're going to blow up a whale. Obviously, I'm going to sit and watch this. Why would you not?
Duh.
It goes crazy. The thing just rains blood and blubber and like whale bones. It goes out to like a quarter mile away. It like destroys this Cadillac. Like it sinks in and just crushes the top of it.
Okay.
Moral of the story, little too much dynamite. A little too much.
Okay. Yeah. They learned.
Yeah, they learned. What the funny postscript of that is like they blow it up and it still doesn't even like effectively like blow it up. So like they still have to bring in like I forget what they call it, the giant yellow scoopy machine. I'm drawing a blank on
an excavator.
So stupid.
No.
Not like
a digger.
A digger. Sorry. Yes.
Yeah.
Like the digger just like pick up the corpse and move it. I don't actually know what they ended up doing within the 70s. They probably just turned it into like a beer or something. Who knows?
Yep.
Or like
made
it as part of cigarettes.
Yeah. Yep.
So this is still done, not to the extent that they did in that stupid video, but
I'm gonna go rewatch it after this.
Actually, yeah. By the way, so that town in Florence, Oregon. Near Florence, Oregon. They have essentially turned it into like a sort of meme about themselves. So there's like a minor league baseball team that's like the Exploding Whales. There's like a whale explosion park. Like they sort of leaned into it in the past couple of years.
That's amazing.
It's kind of great. I saw the hats. I kind of want to get one. It's literally just a whale with a stick of dynamite.
Nuh-uh.
Yeah. So they do still do controlled demolitions. I believe the idea is if it blows it up into smaller pieces, whatever scavengers can come, like seagulls can eat it and like take care of it and stuff. The problem with that is that if they do it too close to the waters, the chum will sort of go out in the water and then sharks are all of a sudden like, cool, there's a bunch of blood here.
They love that.
They love that. So it's not a great idea. I don't recommend it.
No.
Me, the marine biologist who's an expert on this, who's read like 5 tabs. So that's your first option. You can blow it up.
Yes.
Your second option is...
There's more. Oh my gosh. Okay.
So there's 4 options. So option 2 of 4 is you bury it right there on the beach.
You bury it? Oh, I guess that makes sense.
You can bury it. Yeah, you can give it like a sort of whale burial. You say a little prayer, whatever, however they want to be buried. Play tap.
It served our country.
21 gun salute. So this depends greatly on the size of the whale in relation to the size of beach that it washes up on. So obviously, if you've got a really big whale on a small bit of beach, can't do it. Not going to work. But if you get a somewhat smaller whale with a big enough beach, you can get away with it.
Burying it.
So it's basically about 6 to 10 feet. If you dig down, you can get down that far. You just drop it in there and then cover it with sand, and you're none the wiser. And just sort of all move on with your lives.
And then what happens? It
in
just
New York
blows up underneath the sand, or
it's
what?
it. No. Oh, I'm sorry. So I guess what you're supposed to do if it has not released the gases yet, you're supposed to. That's true. What you want to do is they can bring somebody in to very strategically cut. Like you just got to find like sort of like a release valve essentially to like let out the gases, that's why it's crucial to do it as quickly as possible.
Right.
Because if it like takes too long, the gas builds up more. So as soon as you see one, there should be services in the area, depending on if there's a lot of, if you're in an area where that doesn't happen very often, they don't know what to do with it as much. But in New York, for example, apparently this does happen on the Long Island area. So there's people who come in and also part of this is they want to do what's the term? Is it necropsy? So it's like an autopsy, I guess is another word. So they want to figure out why this thing died in the first place for science to be like, okay, is there a bigger problem that we need to be aware of, or is it just like old age? Mm-hmm. But so in New York, it's really interesting. I was reading about this guy. His name is Robert DiGiovanni. He's a construction worker who turned marine biologist and founded what amounts to a comprehensive whale command system, the Atlantic Marine Conservation Society, AMSEAS, in 2016.
That's amazing.
This guy had a construction company in the 90s and went on some like whale watching tour and like was talking to the guy like that led it. And he was like, we really don't know a lot about whales. So I'm going to close down my construction company and then just go become a like a marine biologist instead.
Wow. That's incredible.
Yeah, it's crazy. So he's basically like a dead whale fixer. So he's
mafia.
Mafia, right?
He cleans up the bodies.
Speaking of mafia, he's the wolf from Pulp Fiction. I don't know. You have not seen Pulp Fiction.
I've seen Pulp Fiction, yeah.
Pulp Fiction. Okay, good. So you remember when Harvey Keitel shows up and he's in his tuxedo and they got to get rid of the dead body that's in the car? It's this guy, but for dead whales. That's literally his job. Is the best way. Yeah.
What a job.
So they report it. He shows up real quick, and all these citizens are like, they're concerned or they're confused and they're sort of fascinated by it. This is the guy. He comes in. He's like, all right, I got this guy. We're going to have to do the autopsy. Sometimes we got to go out because it's not quite on the beach yet. We got to get like a little boat out there. I got to bring my scientist guys to come check it out and like pull samples. We got to figure out like their construction guys who are going to be moving it. Some people get saucy about it. They're like, pretty please would be nice. And he's just like, listen, pretty please with sugar on top. Clean up the goddamn whale. He's just a guy. He takes it. He takes care of it. So this is a quote that I thought was really interesting because there's an interview with him. And he says, within the hour of getting the call, we'll have a basic plan of how we're going to respond. If the animal is still floating offshore, we'll need a team to go tow the animal in. We need heavy equipment to help us, excavators and bulldozers and things like that, and need to know what resources local municipalities have available and when they can get them. Gosh. We prefer to go out and do the necropsy with 12 to 15 people who have gone through our training, who help open up the animal, process the samples, documentation, take photos, and someone who manages the heavy equipment. But we've gone out with just 4 people to do this at times. And all this planning, the final disposition is discussed with municipalities. Usually it takes 12 to 20 hours.
What?
Yeah. So it's like quick.
Like, wow. To get all of that, everyone assembled.
Yeah.
Whale team.
This dude's a G. He's a straight gangster. Like he knows what's up. Like because he's got this background in construction and he's a marine biologist. He's like, I'm the dude. I know how to coordinate this. Sometimes so a lot of times he says that what they end up doing, especially in the New York area, is they'll just bury them right there because the whales aren't too big to be able to have to figure out some sort of alternative. And he said they'll do it within like an hour almost. Like while they're out there taking the sample or whatever, some guy will come in and they'll dig it up. They'll just bring it back in, plop it in, cover it, and it's done. And people are like, is it a bad idea to like bury these whales here? And does it smell or whatever? And he's just talking to them. He's like, yeah, you don't even know there's literally a whale underneath you right now as they're complaining about it.
Incredible.
Amazing, right? This guy's awesome. So that's an option. I guess that's more of what they end up doing in the New York area. So there's a lot of whales that are buried out there, but I guess it's okay. They've let out the gas. It doesn't stink. It's sort of just, same thing that happens with anything else when it gets buried.
Anything you bury, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So the third option is you tow it back out to sea. Now, what this will allow it to do is, which is to give it a sort of natural death. Or, you dump out the body just like Osama bin Laden, but you don't take pictures so people don't actually know if it even happened or not. And then conspiracies start.
This is the second time you've mentioned Osama bin. Oh no, you mentioned Saddam Hussein last time. Never mind.
Saddam Hussein last time.
Yeah, the tunnels.
Yes, it gets buried out in sea. Obviously, this is hardcore because you got to get like giant, boats and stuff, or like whatever, like helicopter, who knows, like all kinds of crazy stuff. It's not necessarily the easiest option, but it is kind of I think the kind of best option if you're able to do it. But of course, these things are huge.
Probably expensive.
Sometimes they get massive. It's not really an option. Yeah, it's expensive. It's good for the general ecosystem if you're able to do that.
Right.
But it's not always an option. Apparently in 2005, in Iceland, the Coast Guard tried to remove a whale carcass from, I'm going to totally slaughter this because I don't know actually how to pronounce this, but it's Hafnarfjordur Harbor. I apologize to all our Icelandic friends. So they did a combination. So they tried splitting it in two with explosives and then manually pulling both halves out to sea.
Whoa. Okay.
This unfortunately did not work.
Yep, that's what I was waiting for.
Because both halves just drifted back to shore, so they were back where they started.
Just with two separate halves, just with two parts of the whale.
Yeah,
instead of
so
one.
they're like, now instead of one whale, we got two pieces.
Don't they like have a huge whaling industry there still?
I don't entirely know, to be honest with you.
They do.
I'm not sure how illegal it is. I don't know how many places it's illegal and stuff.
Anyway.
It's not as illegal. It's possible, yeah.
I have a tab open about it. I guarantee you.
You did. Excellent.
Go.
So, that's always a problem. It depends on how far out you go. So you really got to go out far, which again, as you said, gets expensive and more difficult. Now, the fourth and final option, which is not everyone's favorite, but it's an option, is you cut it up and you take it in pieces to the dump or the landfill. Which means you got to get
whale.
Yeah, right. A waste of whale. So sometimes, if you cut it up, you got to bring trucks and you got to move it. Now, there have been instances preemptively before they cut it up and take it to the landfill. So for example, there was a specific instance in Taiwan in 2004.
Okay.
Where they did not do the degassing. They didn't let all the air out before they took it in for research.
That's your first problem. Yeah,
exactly. So they get a giant truck. There's this beach sperm whale, and they just slap it on the back of a truck and
no.
just put it in with a bunch of zip ties. And they wanted to bring it to a nearby research facility. They're driving it through this town. It's called Tainan in Taiwan.
Yeah.
And as they're driving through, straight up explodes in the middle of the town.
How big was the explosion? Huge?
It was, I don't know if it was, I couldn't tell you because I don't know necessarily how to gauge the size of explosions.
Yeah.
But basically, all the nearby shops and bystanders were just covered in blood and whale guts everywhere.
Did anyone die?
It's crazy. I don't believe so.
Okay.
And there's no video of it. There's pictures of the aftermath if you want to look it up.
I do.
But that's an option. But of course you want to make sure you let the gases out.
You gotta degas it, yeah.
Yeah. I also saw another video of
my grandma always told me, degas the whale before you throw it in the dump. She always said that.
I saw another video of them trying to put it. It was a different instance where they were trying to take the sperm whale and put it on the back of a truck, and they just dropped it, and it just exploded on impact. It's terrible. It's so messed up.
This whole story. Okay. It's absurd. It's absurd. Okay. I just picture it like a cartoon.
Anyway, so that's literally what it is to me. I'm just this is crazy. It's crazy.
Wow. Okay, so those are the four
options.
So
just to recap, those are the four. To recap, you blow it up, you bury it on the beach, give it a burial, you tow it out to sea, or you cut it up and take it to the dump. Those are your four options. But most importantly, don't do it yourself.
Don't do it yourself. Good to know. I got to call that guy.
Don't do it yourself is the most important part. Yeah. Yeah. Robert DiGiovanni out in New York, the wolf.
Wow.
That guy's awesome. Yes.
Wow.
So now I've taken you through the entire history of whale evolution culminating in whale death, from whale birth to whale death.
Falling off a truck and dying and exploding. Yeah.
And exploding. Yes. Anyway, that's it. That's my tab.
Wow. Dude, I knew about the exploding, but I had no idea that, first of all, whales were mammal. I knew they were mammals. I just didn't know why.
Yeah.
And second, I didn't know there's whole teams that go out and take care of these ticking time bombs.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of places they don't necessarily have a good infrastructure for it, which is why that guy is so interesting, because he's like, oh, this is a really specific problem. I'm going to figure this out.
It must happen a lot. Or does he have a...
I think it happens often. I think I have to look up the article. I feel like it's only happened 30, 40 times in the past 10, 15 years maybe.
Wow.
Which is more than I thought it would be, but
yeah.
I couldn't tell you exactly the number off the top of my head, unfortunately. I'm not that good of a researcher.
No. We're not. Look, you're not listening to this for true, deep research.
You're not listening to this, period.
And if you are, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry that you're listening to this.
No, I'm not.
Anyway, so shall we do it? Shall we line up our tabs?
Hold on. Gotta get my phone. Hold on.
Gotta get it ready.
Okay. You ready?
Okay. Drum roll, please.
Hold on. I gotta pull it up. I should have it ready. I'll learn.
No, it's okay. We need to build anticipation.
All right. Oh, it's so far back. Dang it.
I know, right? Mine's quite far in there.
Oh, there it is.
Okay.
Phossy Jaw.
Ready? Bob Phossy Jaw and how to get rid of a whale before it explodes.
Okay, ready?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1.
Boom.
Add an explosion.
Dunzo.
Add a whale explosion noise to that. Alyssa, find one. Make it
juicy.
Gooey. Yes, it needs to be juicy, and I need to hear it splatter on things.
Oh my god!
Wow. Well, now I'm down
Amazing.
to 404 tabs.
Yeah, right. Amazing. That was fun.
That was really good. I loved your tab.
I love the Phossy. It's really funny. Not funny. It's tragic. This is how our brains work. I don't want people to think that we're laughing at people's misfortunes. We just have a really bizarre sense of humor.
It's horrific and
it's
truly horrible.
What can you do but laugh at how terrible
and I'm
it is?
Really glad I live now.
Yes.
Most of the time, yeah.
Mostly.
But yeah, no, I mean, every once in a while I want to go back and be a farmer and not have to worry about anything, but I'm glad I live now.
Yes. I'm wholly unprepared to ever be a farmer. I'm the least capable of doing any kind of manual labor like that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, moving on, let us go to our listener emails.
Great.
So just a reminder, this is a communal show. We want you to participate. And so we ask our listeners if they have a tab that we've inspired them to close to email us and share it. And let us know what their tab was. So you want to go first?
Well, yeah, I was going to say just 1 to 2 paragraphs of something that you've learned or kind of, summing up what you read about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go first. Okay,
yeah,
so this comes in from Carmen from Utah. And she writes, have you ever heard of the Erfurt latrine disaster? In the 11th,
sounds like air fart.
It does. It's German. In the 1100s, some German king, I looked it up, it's Henry VI, of the Holy Roman Empire, not of England. Some German king held a huge meeting to settle a dispute and decided to invite all of the nobles in the Holy Roman Empire. They met on the second floor of the building, but there were so many people that the floor just collapsed. So not only did that floor collapse, he says, so all these nobles fell through that floor and the ground floor below it and straight into the sewage pit below.
This is like a Marx Brothers sketch.
This is a disgusting episode. Okay, you ready for this? Around 60 of the nobles died.
Lord.
Either from getting crushed by debris, suffocating in the decomposing fumes, or drowning in the liquid excrement.
No!
Carmen!
Gross.
The king only survived because he'd been sitting in a stone alcove. So they got a ladder after all of this and just like lifted him out, rescued him. And once he got out, he fled town. He left town as fast as he could.
Why? He's just, I gotta get away from like this shitty pile of dead bodies. This shit grave. This shit kiddie pool.
And then Carmen goes on to say, I know it shouldn't be funny, but it is. But yeah. The Wikipedia article is so short, so she said she had to translate it from German. Or that like she needs to find out a better way to translate because there's way more on it in German. So if anyone out there speaks German.
Oh, okay.
There's a beautiful article waiting for you. Erfurt latrine disaster. Anyway. That was from Carmen.
Yeah, and any of our German-speaking listeners, please send us translations at length if you end up getting them. This is a story we'll be happy to go into more.
Thanks, Carmen, for making that. That's a cherry on the pile of whale carcass.
Shit.
Yes. Okay. Who wrote into you? What do you have?
Okay. Ours is Asham from Valley Village writes, Dear 500 Tabs, I had this article from punchdrink.com open for a while on modern tiki bars and what defines a tiki bar these days. The article is called Tiki's New Fantasy is Out of This World, and he includes an excerpt. It says, today's tiki bars, even if they don't call themselves that, are a sum of considered whims. Whether it's the once abandoned outpost of a 19th century nautical club that's maybe also a shipwreck, a research lab dedicated to studying the artifacts of a robot civilization that once lived somewhere in the South Seas.
This is
a
all
bar
whale,
in the abyss.
Whale adjacent, okay?
Whale. We don't even plan this. That's the funny part.
That's the thing.
It just happens.
Yeah. Okay.
A bar in the abyss that's frequented by demons, or the base camp of a colony of astronauts marooned in a mysterious tropical planet. Elaborate backstories do more than create a sense of place. They add patina. They differentiate, and they create opportunities to sell more than just drinks.
So it's LARPing in a bar?
It's barping, I guess.
That's also the sound a whale makes when it explodes.
Yeah.
Blarp. Anyway. Go on.
Blarp.
Okay.
Did you ever watch Futurama?
Yeah.
Do you remember the episode where they're looking for precious ambergris? Just precious hamburgers is what Giv calls it. And the whale throws up her watch and just goes.
Yes. Oh my god.
It's just blarp.
Blarp. I gotta rewatch that show.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry. So Ashim finishes off. He says, fun to see how bar owners are pushing their theming beyond decorum menu, but also including challenges, which I, for one, have participated in at my local tiki bar. Always good to close a tab and make room for more articles I won't read for at least a month. Your pal, Ashim.
Wow, Ashim.
Are you a tiki bar fan?
I don't know. No, I've never been to one.
You're not much of a bar person.
Drinker,
you've never been to a tiki bar?
No.
Tiki bars are a lot of fun, even if you don't drink.
The Bay Area doesn't really have fun.
I mean, there's the one in the Claremont,
is.
the really famous one that's
really?
under the hotel. Yeah.
I gotta go. Oh, right. Okay,
the,
wait. No. It's
Fairmont. I always confuse Fairmont and the Claremont. Claremont's the one in Berkeley.
I think it's the Fairmont.
Yeah, it's the Fairmont.
Yeah.
It's the Fairmont.
Wow.
Yeah.
I gotta go. That sounds like a really cool experience. Like.
Yeah, it's super fun. If I come up to the city next time, we should go. You know who used to go there? Who used to love it was Charles Schultz.
Really?
Creator of Peanuts. Yeah, he loved that place.
Because he's from the Bay. I forgot about that.
He's from Minnesota originally, but then he moved out. I think Sebastopol is the name of the area. So if you go up like north of the city, there's like the ice skating rink that he built. There's like a Schultz museum. It's really cool.
I love that. Okay, we got to go next time if you're ever up here.
I'm sorry, the Tonga Room and Hurricane Bar. That's the one I'm thinking of.
Okay. It is.
That's the very famous one.
Okay.
It's got like a river underwater and stuff like that. It's like a moat. It's super cool.
Okay, so it's down in
yeah.
Oh, it's by Grace Cathedral, Nob Hill. Cool. Okay.
Yeah. It's really cool. It's fun. It's worth it. You can always just get like a virgin whatever drink.
Yeah, it's easy.
Yeah.
They have other drinks.
And they've got like they have appetizers. Now it sounds like we're advertising for them.
This has been brought to you by
out the Tonga Room.
Hurricane.
Also, next time if you come to LA, there's a lot of cool tiki bars down here too.
Okay, when I come down for WonderCon.
There's a lot of fun ones. Yeah, when you come down for WonderCon, we should go.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, I guess that about wraps it up for this episode. Please go ahead and follow us on social media. We are at 500 Open Tabs on Twitter and on Instagram. Please, very important, rate the podcast. This is only 2 episodes in. Rate the podcast. Tell your friends about it. Exactly. Otherwise, life doesn't matter. But if there's one thing in life that matters right now, it's this.
It's this podcast. It's the most important thing happening in the world right now.
Yeah. Please rate it. Tell everybody about it. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. And also, crucially important, we do have sponsors. Please follow those sponsor links. Consider signing up for them. It will help us quite a bit to be able to continue this podcast. And of course, we mentioned it before, but just so you know, again, if you have a tab that you've closed that you've been inspired to do by this show, please email us. We want to know about it. Our email is 500opentabs@gmail.com. Just a brief paragraph. Go ahead, Anna. What do you want to say?
Oh, I was going to say the number 500, not right now.
Yes. 500 open tabs at Gmail. But yeah, brief paragraph. And don't forget to include the link of the tab that you closed so we can include it in the show notes.
So everyone can open the tab.
Yeah, so everyone can.
This show is not helpful.
Nothing useful here. We're just making it worse for everybody.
Anyway, yeah, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for joining us. And we never figured out a way to exit this yet, did we? We still
just add in another explosion.
Yeah.
And remember, make it juicy. That's all.
Keep it juicy, San Diego.
Should we just say,
I don't know.
Keep it juicy?
Keep it
Keep it juicy.
Phossy hands.
Anyway, bye.
See you next time.